Resources are an interesting thing to think about. What resources we have available to us. We have our skills, we have tools, sometimes we have experience, we have help, support. Most people boil down our resources to two: time and money. Really, if you boil it down, the only resource we really have is time, because we trade time for money. But money is the currency that we use to get what we want to get. We trade our time for the resource of money so that we can have homes, cars, food, electricity, clothes, little things that bring us happiness, big things that bring us happiness sometimes if we have enough. And that has been on my mind a lot today, what our resources are. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. I am your host, Naomi, and this is Mosaic in Progress. In today's episode, I really just want to take a break from all the heaviness. I want to bring us into a little bit of joy. And I'm not feeling joyful while I'm recording this, I'll be honest with you, because someone who has hurt me a lot in the past has hurt me again today. And I feel like there's a knife in my chest while I'm recording this. Because this person is so involved in their ego that they refuse to even communicate with me to bring peace to my family. And they label me with titles like psycho. And I'm not feeling very joyful. And I really wasn't feeling joyful even before I found out all of this information. Mercury retrograde always hits me really hard, and this Mercury retrograde is in Pisces, and I am a Pisces moon, so it's been rough. If you're not familiar with Mercury retrograde, or if you're new to the podcast, Mercury retrograde highlights all of your shadow for you, all of your unconscious patterns, your unhealed wounds, your communication issues, the things that you haven't faced. And Pisces deals a lot with your feelings and your intuition. So it's really not surprising that this person has come up as a thorn digging deeper into my side right now. Because of course she would. It's Mercury retrograde in Pisces, and all of the feelings are feeling. But I really want to spend this episode kind of taking a break from the heaviness. Because there's so much heaviness. There's so much heaviness in the world with everything that's going on. And I don't mean that to say stick your head in the sand. Because we shouldn't. We should pay attention to the horrible things that are going on in the world. And we should speak up about the horrors of the world. And I do that on most episodes. But you also have to breathe. Even in combat, I've known a lot of people who've been in the military and who have seen combat, who have fought in literal wars, and none of them stay there the entire time fighting. They have breaks, they step away, someone comes in to relieve them, maybe not as often as we might think is appropriate. They don't fight 24/7, 365 until the war is over. You have to have a reprieve. And this episode is the reprieve. Because I've been thinking a lot about the last time that I went to church. It was a Unitarian Universalist church. And I think I've spoken about this on previous episodes, but it was such a beautiful service. And it was very liturgical, which I was not familiar with or comfortable with growing up in the Church of Christ. But instead of lighting candles, they were dropping strawberries into a bowl of water. And it just was so whimsical and beautiful. The beauty of it stayed with me for a long time. And I went up and I thought my prayers and I dropped the strawberries into the water. And as I walked back, there was a wooden carving of a question mark and the words, "The question is the answer." In that moment, I finally found God. And I've never been back to that church. I think about it a lot. But that concept of the question being the answer stuck with me. And I think drove me eventually towards the Gnosticism that I embody now. Because Gnosticism carries the idea of questioning everything and just searching for knowledge. And never with the purpose of arriving at that full knowledge. But the quest of gnosis, or knowledge, is the point. The quest is the point. The seeking of knowledge is the point. Not the finding of it, but the seeking of it. The question is the answer. And being able to shed that shame and guilt that I had carried for so long of needing to have this concept of we know. I grew up with the concept of we know. My mother said that phrase all the time. We know the Bible says this. We know the Bible says that. We know this is true. We know that is true. We know this is wrong. We know we're supposed to do this. And so often it was presented without any backup, any evidence. Just this idea of we know and you just accept it. We know this and you accept it. And being able to let go of that and embrace curiosity, just embrace the questioning, embrace the seeking was so liberating to me, so freeing, and so joyful. Just this, let me see what is true. Let me ask questions that I never dared to ask before. Let me seek in places that I was told I shouldn't seek. Let me ask of sages I was told I should avoid. The embracing of curiosity was my rebirth. And I think a lot as I have really embraced the teachings of Jesus again. I think a lot about how Jesus talked about children and how we should be like children. And children are very innocent, and they are very loving, and they are very, very curious. And I think that we miss that part of being childlike so often. We think about the innocence of children, we think about the trustingness of children, we forget how goddamn curious they are. Because, holy shit, there is no one more curious than a child. They don't know the world yet. They're still trying to figure it out. And so they have 1,000 questions an hour. And they just want to know why, what, how, where, when. They have so many questions. And to embrace that curiosity is to embrace that childlike spirit that I think Jesus had the idea that we should embrace. I think about myself as a child and my own curiosity, but also my own intuition as I came into my own inner knowing and my understanding of energy. I came into an understanding of energy before anyone else who I knew did. I was light years ahead of them. I was like, I want to say 6 or 7 when I started understanding energy and that I could feel things and sense things that were not a part of my five senses, and that those things were not things that normal people sensed. I remember my dad had to drop something off at an office building, and we parked outside of the office building, and me and my two sisters were in the back seat. My mom was in the passenger seat in the front. We were waiting for my dad to come back, and a man was walking through the parking lot, and I saw him, and immediately I was like, that's a bad man. And I asked my mom to lock the doors, and she was like, what? And my little sister immediately started making fun of me, and my older sister, who was very easily influenced, also started making fun of me. And I said, he's a bad man. And my mom turned around, and this is the only time she ever did this in my entire life. And she said, Naomi senses things. Naomi understands things that other people don't. And my sisters were quiet then, and I was shocked beyond belief. And she never said anything like that again. She never took up for me like that again. It was the first and only time that my mother validated my intuition. And never again, because I had a lot of like prophetic dreams as a child, and still do. And I don't mean like prophetic dreams like write it down, we're gonna have another Bible. Though some people have suggested that, but that's for them to feel, and I don't feel that. I have had dreams about the most mundane of things, and then they happen. And it's truly the most mundane of things. I had a dream that I was having a conversation with a coworker in an ER, and a doctor was there, and the specific conversation, I remember it, and several years later, it happened exactly as it was in my dream. Before I ever worked in that ER, before I ever had applied to work in that ER, it happened in my dream. And I was like, ooh, I remember dreaming this. I had a dream that my dad was yelling at me and my sisters while we were target practicing in our backyard. And I remember the clothes I was wearing, the clothes he was wearing. It was very visceral. And that exact thing happened years later. And I was like, I have dreamed this. It's like the most mundane things. It's like nothing useful, which is kind of annoying, because if I'm going to have prophetic dreams, at least make it something where I can be like, better look for that, buy that stock or move to that country, and so you get out of there in time. It's never anything actually like usefully prophetic, but I have dreams about things before they happen. And when I told my mom that, she was like, people dream lots of weird things all the time. And I was like, cool, thanks. I thought you would have my back, but she didn't. And this is very chaotic of an episode. My point is, this shit's crazy, and we have to find our joy, find our hope in the chaos. We have to find the thing that gives us a reason to keep holding on, to keep getting up in the morning, to keep fighting. Because when they pulled the soldiers off the battlefield and replaced them with somebody else, and they gave the soldiers a break, you have to remember what you're fighting for. Because so often we focus on what we're fighting against. Fight fascism, fight Donald Trump, fight whatever. What are you fighting for? Because that's the important part. What is it that you're fighting for? Because fighting against something without fighting for something is purposeless. What is it that you want? What is your outcome that you hope to achieve? What do you envision at the end of it? There's a lot of really fun thought processes that you can go through. Like we talked about time and money. Like take money, for example. Think about trying to spend $1 million or trying to spend as much money as you can spend. Or what if you had more money than you knew what to do with? What would you do with it? And just start spending money. Think about it. you know, for me, it's like, oh, let me pay off all my debt and pay off my husband's ex-wife's mortgage, and let me pay off the debt of my best friends and my stepkids and my sisters, and let me give everybody who I love, who's I'm close to, $100,000. This is the thing that I think about a lot. Like, if I had more money than I knew what to do with, like, give millions to charity and everything. And it's like, everyone you know, every single person that you know right now would have their lives completely transformed if you gave them $100,000. Maybe that would pay off all their debt, maybe it wouldn't. But their lives would be completely transformed if you gave them $100,000. And I'm like, how many people could I give $100,000 to? How many people could I give $100,000 to? And it would just completely transform their entire lives. And if you had more money than you knew what to do with, think of how many people you could give that money to, and how their lives being transformed would transform other lives. Because, like, for me, if someone just gave me $100,000, I'm thinking about, like, well, I would be able to pay off this debt and this debt and this debt, and I would be able to, like, support this small business and be able to, go get tattoos, or I'd be able to, go back and get my nails done, and those are small things, and they're what people consider frivolous things, but they're things that support a business, a local business at that. And so if you change one life, you change countless lives in the domino effect. And I think it's really important to remember the joy and what you're fighting for. And I hear so many people who are like, you shouldn't be doing this, or you shouldn't be doing that, or whatever. And it's like, you have to take a beat at some point. Whatever your fight is, whatever your purpose is, whatever your role is in this revolution, you have to take a beat. You can't fight 24/7, 365. You have to take a beat sometimes. And you have to remember what it is that you're fighting for. It's like that song, Bread and Roses. We're not just fighting for survival. It's not just for the bread. It's for the roses too. It is for the joy. It's for the beauty. It's for the things that make life worth living. So I'd really love for you to take some time today and think about what it is that makes life worth living for you. Is it art? Is it music? Is it craftsmanship? Baking? Going out to eat? What is it? What is your thing? Or things. It's great if you have more than one. What is it that makes life worth living for you? I want you to really think about that and, like, make a list. Like, make a list of the things that just bring you so much joy that you're like, yeah, I'm going to fight this motherfucker to make sure I can still do this or see this or experience this, whatever. The things that are worth fighting for. The things that are worth living for. Find those things and embrace them. Don't set them to the side and go, I'll draw later, I'll paint later, I'll crochet later. Whatever it is, I'll play my guitar later. I'll sing later. No, absolutely not. Those are the important things. Those are the things that matter. Let go of the shame and the guilt of needing to show up in armor all the time. And let your joy be the thing that permeates your life. I will absolutely butcher this quote because I didn't write it down, but I remember reading about the fights, the riots during the AIDS pandemic. And there was someone who said, in the morning we fought, we marched in the streets, and at night we danced. And the fight was for the dance. We were fighting so that we could dance. If you're only fighting against something, then step away until you find something to fight for. Because the joy is the point. The joy has always been the point. And it's a difficult thing to accept when you have been raised with an ideology of sacrifice or cutting yourself off from your urges or impulses or pleasure. The point of being human is the human experience. And that means all of it, the sorrow, the anger, the rage, the grief, the joy, the pleasure, the ecstasy. And if you're fighting for something that you don't know what you're fighting for, if you're only fighting against, then take a break and figure out what it is that you're fighting for. And I want to encourage you all, find a fun little thought exercise. My fun thought exercise is, what would I do if I had more money to spend than I knew what to do with? That's my fun one. Because I'm like, okay, well, I'd pay off my debt, and then I'd help this person, and then I'd help that person, and then I'd help that, and then I would get my hair done, and I'd get my nails done, and I would get my teeth fixed, and I would get the tattoos that I've been wanting to get, and then, oh, also, my tattoo artist is paying a mortgage on the shop where he's working. I would pay off his mortgage, and it's so much fun to just let your mind run wild with the idea of limitlessness. So find whatever it is that brings you joy, whatever it is that you want to do. And money's a really easy one because money is the currency of our freedom. Find your limitless fantasy and let your mind run wild with it in the most pleasureful way. And I would absolutely love to hear what you come up with. Send it to me on Patreon in the comments, send it to me in an email, comment on wherever you're listening to podcasts. I really want to hear what your limitless pleasure involves. Give voice to it, even if it's a little scary, because if you give voice to it, especially if it's scary, maybe it just might come true. Thank you all for joining me. This has been a short episode, a little different episode than what I normally do, but I felt like we needed a little break from the heaviness, and I hope it has served you in the way that I intended it to, which is always out of love. And I hope you'll join me next week on the podcast as we both continue to work on our mosaic in progress. And follow me wherever you follow podcasts. Check out linktree.com/mosaic in progress to find wherever you follow podcasts or want to support this work. And I will see you next week as we both continue to work on our mosaic in progress.